Welcome to the We Ain't Normal podcast, where each week we share the best tools to help neurodiverse moms navigate life so you can enjoy more flow, focus, and freedom to live your best life yet. And now, here's your host, Charmaine Fuller.
Hey, what's up, ladies? Welcome back to the We Ain't Normal podcast, because who's really normal and who really wants to be? This is the continuation of our motherhood mindset series. And today I have Olivia Cook. I consider her to be a mindset goddess. If you do not follow her on Instagram, my God, follow her. She will give you life beyond what you could have ever imagined. It's a fabulous feed. So we're welcoming her today. And today we are talking about, it's all about you. It's all about you. It all starts, begins, ends, progresses through you, and using the power of you to create the life that you deserve and desire, despite what neurodiversities you may have, despite what other challenges you might have. There is a way for you to win, and that's what we're going to share with you today. So, Olivia, tell us a bit about who you are personally and professionally before we get this party started.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Charmaine, for having me on. I love working with you. I love doing stuff with you. It's always a pleasure. A little bit about me personally. I am a Christian, humanitarian, military wife. I've lived a few different places. I don't look like what I've been through. I've been through some crazy struggles, but I've understood that your life is truly what you make it. Now, on the professional end of things, I am a transformational success coach. I focus on productivity, mindset, and using your menstrual cycle to your benefit. And this is for service-based female entrepreneurs and content creators. And I help them increase their income, decrease their stress levels, and actually enjoy their success journeys. And this is just on a whole different level of really helping them organize their lives and work in their own zone of genius. Now, I also have a podcast because I feel like, being a content creator, I need to, also to help other content creators, I got to have content, right? Well, that's not only it, but my podcast is The Empowered Woman, Badass and Unfiltered. And I share stories from women all over the world. I actually had Charmaine on last year, and it was such a pleasure. Oh my goodness,
So much fun.
Oh my goodness, it's so much fun. There are still things that she said in that podcast that I'm still like, save room for Jesus. She always says that. And I mean, that really stuck with me too. And then I also have a Christ-driven brand called Relentless Glory. And that one is it's just really about, it's just having those uncomfortable conversations that the church doesn't necessarily always have. We're not preachers. I do it with another coach. We're just women that don't see a lot of other women like us that are like bold and not perfect Christians, but living in this unperfect world and just loving God. And just having those testimonies of sharing like how he has moved through our lives. So that's another thing that I do. I'm also very, very active in my church community. This summer, I'm actually leading the summer sack lunch program at my church. So as we like talk about, who we are and also like productivity, this is coming from somebody that's got a lot going on.
A lot.
Okay? This is not from somebody that's like,
I sit at home and I just like sit and I wait for things to come to me. Something I want to touch on, which is one of the reasons why I love you and why I love that I seem to connect with other faith-based women who are not straight-laced, because I'm a Christian that cusses, and learning how to embrace all of that spirituality, I think, is one of the reasons for my success. I'm not damning everybody, but I do have a belief in something higher than myself. And I think that is so important as we embark on this journey. And then like some of the other nuggets you drop just about, the mindset and not looking like what you've been through. And it just, let's get into productivity. What does productivity mean to you?
It is executing on the tasks that will take you closer to your goals. This is not doing busy work. This is
doing the right hard things.
Yes. Sometimes being productive is actually getting out of your comfort zone. I'm really guilty, and I realized this recently. Because of the way that I grew up, being the oldest and like given all of this extra leadership that I didn't really have. Like I had like leadership mindset or whatever as a kid. And then my parents just like threw me into that so I didn't have a whole bunch of guidance and things. And so I made a whole bunch of mistakes. But my biggest issue that has come along with me is I don't like to ask for help. I don't like to ask for anything. And so that's a real big problem when it comes to growing a business, because you've got to talk to people. And the funny thing is I'm an extrovert. I will talk to any and everybody. I have no social anxiety. It's like, why is there this disconnect? Well, because I always want to be the giver and I have a hard time receiving. So that might not be a problem that you deal with. But for me, doing something productive is go ahead first thing in the morning, like as far as work goes. So first thing, how I do my days is I spend time with Jesus. I spend time in the Word. I spend time doing something that I need. And then I move my body. I get going. I start moving. And then I start talking to people. I start having new conversations, because in business, you've got to let people know what you do, who you are.
I'm looking for you, boo.
Mm-hmm. Nobody is looking for you. Like, no, they don't even know. A lot of in the service-based industries too, you might have something amazing to offer somebody, but if other people don't know it, like you're going to just be hiding yourself under a rock, and you're sabotaging yourself because you're choosing not to put yourself out there. So productivity is oftentimes uncomfortable, but it's absolutely necessary.
So that's the entire thing too with productivity. It's just not creating a list of things to do. Mm-hmm. It's just not checking stuff off. And that's why I am so against the to-do list. And I'm more about actionable steps. Like, what are the steps that you can take today that are going to get you closer to the life that you desire? Not the random ish that people give to you, but what are actually the things that are going to take you closer to what you desire? And I don't think a lot of women per se think about that, because like you, I was the oldest and then I was a latchkey kid. So asking for help was my mom going, you should know that already, when she didn't really explain it to me. And so then me going, well, I should already know it. I should already have the tools. I should already know how to do this. And it keeps you stuck if you don't ask for help, specifically if you don't ask for help before you need the help. I think that's another thing too, is asking for help before, because most of us already know what our schedules look like. If you're a mom, you already know with your kids where you need support. And we often don't ask until we're in the weeds, until the shit has hit the fan and we're struggling. And then we're yelling at people to give us help. And nobody wants to help us because we're being mean.
Yeah. There's so many things that you said there. We also have to be willing to learn. And I think that now I've gotten to the point where now I've really adopted this learner's mindset, because it's so necessary for us to really grow too. So, and also with giving ourselves grace, because high performing women are very hard on themselves, and we're expected to know these things, especially like with you, like if you're told, oh, you should already know that. And some people, it's like, that is their life.
Yeah.
And then it's like you have this negative self-talk that's like beating yourself up. And that's where the mindset thing comes in for me too, because if we're allowing ourselves to learn, it's like, okay, well, I didn't know that. Now I do. And this is how I'm going to do it next time. And allowing ourselves that grace, because no, we're not going to get, there's not going to get this like perfect. And for me, I start like, we all get off track in life too.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're listening to this and, you want to know how to be more productive, and like, let's say you're in a rut right now, a really good way to do that is to think about what are the things that are going to make your day at the end of the day be like, yes, I did that. Not from a sense of like, oh my goodness, I accomplished so much. I'm a good person. I'm a high achiever, blah, 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 blah. No, the things that like bring you joy. Like, what are you doing when you are at your best? What activities cause you to be at your best? And, it comes from the little changes and choices that we make. And, Charmaine actually suggested this book to me. It's A Slight Edge. Phenomenal book. If you have not read it, you absolutely need to, because it is the little choices you make every day. So the choice to get your mind right, take that time for you in the morning. Yeah. Charmaine has a phenomenal 15-minute strategy of how she helps her clients, in the mornings on for their morning routines, because they're so busy. So even as small as something like that, but whatever works for you. And that those little things will make you be more productive.
It sounds like what you're talking about is awareness. And I think we discount awareness so much because, again, we think we're already supposed to be someplace. And so in order to be aware, you have to be willing to learn. Once you're aware of what's going on, then you can begin to create the shifts that you need to create in your life, which takes repetition. Like Olivia said, you ain't finna get this the first pass. You're going to make mistakes. It's going to look messy sometimes. And so you have to have the awareness and be willing to repeat yourself. Do you know how many times God had to repeat himself for people to get it? And for some reason in this microwave society, Olivia, we think that we do something once because it's so easy. I do it once, and the first time I do it, I'm going to be perfect. And if I'm not perfect at it, then I don't want to do it anymore. And you have to bust out of that. I call it the Ricky. Have you ever seen Talladega Nights?
I'm okay. Maybe. I only watch movies once.
It was, I forget the actor, but he was a race car driver. And so he just goes, I want to go fast. I want to go fast. Like his entire life was about going fast. If you're not first, you're last. Like all of these little sayings that are kind of funny, but it's actually how people think. And I call it the Ricky Bobby syndrome, where I want to go fast. I want to get it right the first time. And if I'm not in first place, then I don't want to do it again. And we all kind of have some of those mindsets in us. But again, like Olivia said, you got to be aware of what's going on. Be aware of when it pops up. Be aware of when you are operating at your best. Be aware of what happens when you are having the suckiest day ever. How did you get there? Start to really pull. I don't think we pull apart and examine our lives enough. We just kind of blindly go through it and just like la, 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 la. And that awareness is everything. Everything.
Yeah, you've got to be self-aware. And you know what? That's something I take for granted. I'm not going to lie. I just think because I have pretty much always been like really self-aware. Well, okay, I'll tell you for example, the last time that I like kind of just let my life just go, I was 20. I was in an abusive relationship. My father died. Well, I got in a car accident and then my father died, and this is all in 36 hours.
Oh, wow.
And I'm 20 years old. I'm working third shift at a Waffle House. I'm in school full time, and I'm working at in an office as well with my boyfriend. But he got fired that day that my dad died, so I had to quit that job too. And because it was like Kirby vacuum sales. Oh my God, dude, I'm tell you. But anyway, so I have to pay for my father's funeral. My aunt did pay for it. I had to pay it back, but still, like, it was still one of those like responsibilities on a 20-year-old. And I was literally just getting by. I was so tired. I was just trying to pay bills because I went from having my bills to also having his car note and all these other things. He ended up getting a job at a flipping gas station. Like that was not going to be enough flipping money. And so I think, and it was until, and then his brother and sister. So my dad died in February. His brother and sister came to stay with us for a month in June. And our June or July, I think it was June. And it wasn't until my mom said like I deserve better that I really kind of like woke up from what I was in, because I was just doing and going with everything that I had going on.
Right.
And then I still, there were still times that like I was running away from things, numbing with alcohol, just all types of stupid things that I did. But, and because, you know, I didn't deal with the loss of my father. Now I look at death so differently from the regular society, but I accept, I'm really good at acceptance. Right. But, you know, learning to just take the moments as they go. And then, you know, in 2018, my husband and I lost 80% of our belongings in a hurricane. And we were technically homeless for 5 months. I was helping with so I'm telling you, you know what, when COVID came around, gratitude on point. I didn't have to move. I could stay in the same location. Like, so when I say like these things, like I take it for granted, it's because I was forced to be aware of the actions and the choices I was making to get me where I got.
So if you all are listening to this entire series, which you absolutely should, I believe that repetition, repetition is the motherhood of mastery. It's going to help you to click, get it. The reoccurring theme in all of these podcast episodes, and none of these ladies have talked to each other. We haven't had a powwow session about what points I wanted them to hit, I swear. But the reoccurring theme is that we're telling you that it took us major events, because it took major events for me as well. And I'm such a flipping genius. It took me a couple of major events to get it. But it takes these major events sometimes for us to click and go, this is not where I want to be. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I don't necessarily want for a major event to have you change your existence. When you're at the point of dissatisfaction, when things just don't feel right, that is the time to take it and flip it. That is the perfect time, because now you have space to learn and you have space to grow, versus when it's a major event, you are thrown feet first into the fire, and it's an all or nothing, which works sometimes, but it's just not as gentle or even as spacious as maybe making a conscious choice before the shit hits the fan. But often that is when we make the change, when the shit has hit the fan and we're like, this is not working. You know, one of the things I learned from Tony Robbins is the quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions that you ask yourself. And I had to start asking myself, specifically because I was in an abusive relationship before I got married, like asking myself a different set of questions versus going, how did I get here? Your brain goes, well, because you're stupid and this is where you belong to be, versus asking that question going, what do I want my life to look like? Is this how I want my life to look and feel? The difference in the quality of questions, because if you ask baseline questions, your paradigm is going to give you answers based off of your paradigm. Mm-hmm. Versus if you dig deeper and go, well, how do I want my life to look? Well, would I be living this way if my life looked and felt the way I wanted it to look? How, you know, the difference, like those nuances and those questions are like everything, right?
When you got to realize you have the power to create your life. So I will tell you, like, when the hurricane happened, I had already been like, I had read this, like, The Habits of High, like one of Jack Canfield's book, okay. one of his books. And I read that. I was already on my positive thinking track. I wasn't a Christian yet. I was, cause I was actually born a Buddhist, but, so like, and my grandparents were Jehovah's Witnesses. So like my spirituality is so interesting, but anyway, that's besides the point.
Like me,
you know, so I don't judge people, or, you know, you live your life, you know, but, I was already in the mindset, like when we had to evacuate from the base, oh, well, we're going on an evacuation. The first time I was being cheap with the government's money, because while we were like living in all these places, the government was paying for it. I was very grateful for that. Because we lived on base, like we were ordered to evacuate. Now, I did a fundraiser for the people back in Panama City, and we had a whole event and stuff like that. And I doing something that you're affected by is very, very hard, because like you still don't have your stuff together. So it's really hard to give out of the right place
Right.
for other people. I'm just being honest. And especially at the age I was at, it was not up to me. Like, yeah, I did give, but I felt like it was out of a source of like, oh, look at me, I'm a do-gooder. But that's a whole nother topic for another day. If you can't tell, I'm very authentic.
My type of person. Yeah. It's like this thought leads me here, then it leads me, wait a minute, that leads me there. Quick caveat. No matter what your brain is doing, notice us. You still have the power to command and control that. Your mind, even though the brain and the mind are two different things, right? So even if your brain doesn't want to play nice, you still have the power of your will to make your mind tell your brain what to do. Keep going.
And I was saying that all to like give more context of like, I've grown so much more as a person from this, but even at that point, I could look at it and be like, okay, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for this opportunity. How you look at the situation you're going through, because it's never always going to be perfect. Like there's always going to be a problem. And whatever you look towards is going to be your issue. Now, because I went into it with the mindset, like I can create this little life in Atlanta, because that's where we evacuated to for a few months until we found out where we were going to be stationed next. And I'm never going to be able to actually live in Atlanta while my husband's in the military, because there's not a base there. So I was able to like live in all these different Airbnbs and get to know different parts of Atlanta and how to actually drive properly in Atlanta without getting a panic attack. And like, I was just counting all of my blessings and really making new friendships and relationships, and just enjoying my time. So when I talk about, yes, we lost everything and all this other stuff, I still had so much of a good quality of life that I don't even think negatively on that experience. Having to like rebuild and all that other stuff, that was unfortunate. But you know what? Minimalism was on Netflix and I learned a lot, and I was like, okay, I don't need a lot of things, you know? So your perspective when you're going through your situations is extremely important.
Your perspective in life, period. Perspective is one of those higher faculties that many of us don't use in a way that serves us, right? We often use it in a way, even in regards to our time and productivity, we often use it in a way, oh, I ain't got Beyonce's time. Well, I don't have, maids and all these systems. And I'm sure one that you hear a lot, which might make you, well, I have kids and you don't have kids, so our time is different. And yes, although you're child free and I have kids, our time is different, but we still have the same amount of time. That while I might be, well, at the time, a long time ago, I was wiping butts and stuff like that, I still had 24 hours in a day. And in between wiping butts, I had this choice. What am I going to do with that time? Am I going to take time for myself? Am I going to veg out with the show? Am I going to read something that's going to improve my mindset? What am I going to do? And I teach moms all the time, when your kids are little, in the beginning, you might only have an hour a day to spend on your business. Make that the most productive hour of your life, because that's all you got. We all have these spaces where there are things that we have to do to live life, whether it's a job, whether it's family, whether it's taking care of a loved one. And then we have this space. Everybody has this space that we get to do anything we want to do with it. And so many of us choose 5 minutes of Facebook, which turns into 3 hours of looking at cat reels. Or we choose it to watch shows that are not benefiting our life. Now, I'm not judging that, because if you follow me, you know I love a good ratchet TV show. But the majority of my time is spent in learning and growing and spending time in ways that accelerate where I want to go or what's important to me. And I think when it comes to productivity, we tend to think that other people's time is better, different, and we don't even take the perspective of looking at, oh my God, look at what I have. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? I'm so tired of people comparing themselves to other people. I am so tired of people not taking accountability for their lives. I am so tired of people just, oh, well, so-and-so, I'm sorry. We all make choices in our lives.
Yep.
It's not, the challenge is not to do good with what somebody else got. It's to do the best with what you got. And, you can look at what other people got going on so much. And, from the comparison thing too, I've seen it increase over and over. Cause I work part-time in a fine dining restaurant too. And I will watch so many people come in, just order a baked potato. That's like a $13 baked potato. That's all they eat, but take plenty of pictures just so people know where they ate, because they care so much that they will dictate their diet off of it so they can flex on social media. People will go on whole vacations and take pictures at all of the places and just get pictures because they want people to know what they were doing. And they want people to see what they were doing instead of actually what they're doing. So many people are out here living for other people. So I don't even compare what other people's time they have. And that goes back to, the asking for help thing. We have to get comfortable asking for help and knowing when to ask for help. And I will tell you this. So I have not enjoyed parts of my life sometimes, but I'm not going to let my feelings dictate my success.
Comparison. I don't know if you listen to Kevin Hart's book, The Decision.
No, not yet. I'm gonna check it out.
Oh my gosh, fabulous. So he talks about, what you just said, people doing stuff for the gram. He goes, would you still post that if there was no way nobody could give you a like? Would you still do what you're doing if there was no way for someone to pat you on the back and say, great job, great picture, great post? And this transcends beyond the social media, if you think about it, because if you're doing that on social, you're doing that in life. How does this look? Does this look great enough? And this goes back again to knowing who you are, to being aware, to asking yourself those questions. And that productivity isn't just about checking stuff off of a list. That's not what it is at all. It's the actions that you're taking. Is it taking you closer to your desired end? And the nuggets, we drop gems and nuggets. If you need to go back and listen, go back and listen. But the pieces of knowing who you are, knowing whose you are, knowing how awesome you are, and not necessarily needing a validation or necessarily needing to look for things to look a certain way. Because when you expect for things to look a certain way, I can tell you with unfailing certainty that ain't how it's going to turn out. So then what are you going to do? So you have to come from a space of presently. How do I want it to feel? What do I want it to look like? What am I going for? Some higher level questions than just what do I need to do? Because by the world's kind of productivity standards, it's just all about what do I need to do, and not from a higher level space of, well, why am I doing this? What is this taking me? Why am I here? Is this, and asking yourself these questions. That's how I got into a lot of financial trouble. It was like, oh, I want this because I want to look this way. And buying things that had no merit into my life. I can't tell you where 98% of that stuff is now. I really can't. I can't tell you.
I think so many people are guilty of that too. And, I thought while you were talking, there's two things that stuck out to me, and it's quotes, because I'm really big on quotes because mindset is so, so important in all of this. And, it's Ralph Emerson's quote, "To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is an accomplishment." And it's true, to go against the grain and do what you want to do. And that's been something that being a former people pleaser, wanting to do, man, listen, I'm sorry. I'm going to do what makes me happy at the end of the day. Cause I've listened to a lot of people on their deathbeds saying, stop taking things so seriously, do things that you want to do. Okay. I learned working at Waffle House when I was 19 years old, I learned really quickly that I didn't know anything, and that it would be really good for me to listen to the advice from people that were where I wanted to be, but also the people that got not where I wanted to be at all, simply because I would learn what not to do. That and my affirmation, I only seek the approval of God, has gotten me so far during this time, because, what other people like, what other people think, so what? Everybody's got an opinion. Like everything going on in the news right now, like I don't care. Like, okay, you think that your opinion is going to change somebody else's mind? You think that, like really? These are just talking points. What are you doing?
Yeah, I am really at the point now of zero fucks given. Like for real, it is what it is. Each and every day, I strive to be a better human than I was the day before. I strive to be light and to bring joy, not just for others, but for myself. Because if I go into a situation feeling great, then I feel great. Despite what you're feeling, that's not my business. I pray for you. I hope you have a better day. But like I'm teaching my kids, you can't take on the emotions of other people. You're not a doctor. You're not a therapist. You're not God. There's nothing you can do for them. So the only thing you can do is maintain your center of joy, send them well wishes and prayers, and keep it moving. But like, especially because my son's an empath, so he will listen to people and then he'll feel horrible because he's taken on all that weight. And so teaching him early how to tell people, you know what? And he like told his friend the other day, dude, I got to go. That's a no for me. Like he's learning, because I keep telling him, like, how do you feel? I don't tell him, I go, well, how did you feel after that call? What did that feel like? Didn't feel great, did it? Okay, so what are you going to do different next time? And so now he's come up with his own solutions. That was a tangent, but I had to learn that as an adult. My mom didn't teach me that as a kid. I was taught to people please and to be a good girl. And if somebody's telling me their life story, then it is my job to be a good friend and to listen. And I had to learn, this is draining. No, I don't want to sit and listen to you complain. Bye, girl.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I allow people to vent because I'm also an empath, and oh man, that was tough in the beginning of COVID. Like I would walk into the grocery store and I would start needing to help people because their anxiety levels were like triggering me at certain points. And I've gotten to the point now that I can walk around and just maintain my own energy. But for a while it was very triggering. People they didn't have to talk. I just felt their energies. It was bad. And I've gotten to the point now that I can handle it, but it's really how I detaching for other people's lack of control of their emotions.
Ain't none of your business.
No. And I mean, how am I going to be a true help to anybody if I'm taking on what they're dealing with? Like, yes, I can empathize with a person. I can understand where they're coming from, but I'm here to help them get through what they're going through if they ask me for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when I was I found myself in the store, like this lady is like looking for something, all freaked out. I'm like, ma'am, hold on, let's calm down. What are you looking for? Let's go find it. Cool. And I love that you're teaching your son those skills, because I don't think that anybody taught me either.
I had to burn out. I had to spiral. I had to realize that people were using my empathic nature. And when I realized that people were using me to solve their problems, it was like, ding, so just trying to change and break those habits and curses. And that all,
helping them understand that they can solve it for themselves.
Yeah. And so now that's how I turned into like the resource girl. Oh, I know somebody. Yeah. I'm not the person. So let me stop you right there. I'm not the person, but there's the person over there. Here's their number. Bye-bye now. Yeah. It had to turn into that to save my own sanity. And I think a lot of our productivity is killed because we are the go-to girl. We are everybody's Google. We are, showing up for everybody but ourselves. And then it leads to resentment, because at the end of the day, and this includes your kids, like I reminded my family to first ask themselves, if they couldn't come up with the answer, to ask Jesus, ask Google. So if you've asked Jesus, Google, and yourself, and you've done your due diligence and you still don't have the answer, then come see me. But don't, because they would just come and go, Ma, where's this? My husband, babe, what's the name of that restaurant? Dude, do you not have an iPhone? Like what? Like you've come up 2 flights of steps to ask me a question that you could have asked on your device. So telling them, and it's repetition, because I've said this before, but what happens is sometimes we get out of alignment with ourselves, and you have to remind people, remember when I said this, I totally meant it. These are the steps you need to take. And if you can't find it, I'll be glad to try to help you navigate, but these should do it for you. Like for real, for real.
Yeah.
Olivia, it has definitely, as usual, and always been a pleasure. Tell people how they can find you out here in these internet streets.
Absolutely. So I'm going to give Charmaine my link tree. There you can find all of my things. So I've got a freebie. I've got like a productivity planner linked in there. I have different, if I have a workshop running, I've got information for the workshop that I have running. If I have all of my links. So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, all the places I am there. But I'm most active on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. I do have a podcast, as I mentioned before, The Empowered Woman, Badass and Unfiltered, a YouTube channel. If you caught me here on YouTube, again, that's all in the link. You pick where you go, where you operate most. Okay.
Okay. So a rapid fire question, the beach or the mountains?
With a lake.
Lake.
Mountains with a lake.
Mountains with a lake. But it has definitely been a huge pleasure. Thank you so much, Coach Liv. It was great having you here. Again, she's everywhere on social, and she's here. All right, ladies, see you for the next episode in the segment. Have a fabulous day. Stay weird, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of the We Ain't Normal ShowCast. I want to make sure that you stay in the loop, that you get all of the bonuses that go beyond each show, and that you're notified whenever each new show drops. So I want you to sign up for the We Ain't Normal Show newsletter. Go to weain'tnormal.show to sign up for that newsletter today. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you can know each time an episode drops. And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcasting platform, be sure to add us to your library, download the show, as well as leave reviews. Remember to stay weird, and I'll catch you next episode.